Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Max. So I know we're all sitting home, quarantined, spending time with our families and loved ones. You should be bettering yourself as well, reading some books, starting some new topics, do some things you haven't done before, and maybe even start reading about new things that you've always wanted to start exploring. But during this time, I wanted to release a quick video. Now, this is a clip from WELIVE20 that was in Atlanta this year, and it was an ethics panel between myself, Justin, and Vince. And I think this is a very important part, and I think it's an important part to talk about ethics in this business and overall in any business. And I think you guys will enjoy this. So share this with anybody that's sitting at home. Take the time, watch this, give it a thumbs up, and watch the entire thing. I'll see you guys later. Peace. Well, all right, listen, the reason why I wanted to bring this up, nobody talks about this. I've been to a bunch of conferences, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. Everybody has an Instagram, but nobody speaks about on this side of the business. I feel like I am, as part of my social responsibility, because I did bring this industry to the forefront and really started giving away information, is to speak about the ethics sides of it so that nobody in this room ends up on these newscasts. And if you do, how to actually articulate what you're doing so that you know how to not run away from the camera. Now, I don't know anybody in that video, and I personally don't think there's anything that they did wrong. There's not a lot of people that will risk $95,000 of their own money to buy something and turn around and sell it the same day, the next day, and make a profit. That's America. We're a capitalist country. That's what we do. So I brought two people to the stage with me. These are actually business partners with me in a company that we all own together called REI Rail, as long as REI Skip, and a couple other things. But I'll let these guys introduce yourself, and for their own reasons they have why I brought them on the stage, because we care a lot about ethics in general, in our personal life, in our past life, and then currently when we have these products that we have out in the market. So Vince, if you can introduce yourself first.
Sure. Vince Harris here, again, one of Max's business partners in a couple of companies like he mentioned. The reason that I think he wanted me to be a part of this conversation specifically, and Justin's got an attachment to ethics and business of his own, is that my background prior to doing this was in financial services. So I worked for big financial firms for most of my career, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Prudential. And it's a highly, highly regulated industry. And so I have had to deal with this throughout my career. There's something in the financial advisory business called a U4. It's basically a report card. Any financial advisors in the audience or what have you? I see one hand back there, one right here as well. And they know the importance of having a clean U4. Your U4 is basically a report card. And it talks about any infractions that you may have had in the business, any complaints against you and what have you. And if you move, as you move from firm to firm, people check your U4. So this is just something I've had to deal with throughout my career. And I think that we are at a place where, I don't want to say that regulation is dangerous, I don't want to be that guy, but I think that if stories like this persist around the country, we're going to get to a place where there may be more regulation and you have a report card and people start to check and see, have you had complaints against you? And I just think it's smart for all of us to get out in front of it, to learn how to do this business in an ethical way and just treat people with respect. So anyway, that's my attachment to ethics and business just generally.
I'm Justin Winters. I am in business with Max and Vince in a couple businesses, as Max mentioned. And my attachment is multifold. One being the fact that I'm the data guy. I run engineering for a lot of the products that we build. And we also sell marketing data. So as you all know, with Facebook and all those sorts of things, I'm always looking at ethics as it relates to, artificial intelligence, because we've started building artificial intelligence into our products, as well as we purchase data and then we turn around and provide that data to you. So first of all, we want to keep you all safe. And we also feel that we just have an ethical responsibility to the people who we're also buying data from or who's represented in that data. So we want to keep you safe. We want to keep the end buyer safe or the end seller safe as well. So there's that IT piece of it that I'm really involved in from an ethics perspective. And we don't really talk about it a lot, but I also am involved in ministry. So I often think about ethics in business as it relates to what we're doing constantly. And, you know, sort of what stood out to me in that video was at the mastermind, and it was interesting that the Instagram handle had hustle. Because it was Antoine who actually said, don't run your business like a hustle. And it really is a mentality, and we don't know the context of that situation. We don't know if there truly was a need there that was worth the surplus that they made in that deal. But as you all are out there transacting business, you want to build something that lasts a lifetime. You know, the reason that you're all here for this weekend isn't just to learn how to go out and make a quick buck. You're really learning how to build a business. And part of that value prop that you provide that Max always talks about is solutions that you're providing. So as you're in doing deals, doesn't mean go make money, not to make money. I mean, we all got to provide provide for and feed our families. And it is, you know, capitalism I think is great. I think democracy is great. I think it's part of what makes America great. But again, you want to serve people. So in that same mastermind, when I introduced myself, I just encouraged everybody to just please lead with value first. And money that you make will be a natural byproduct. So as you look at any deal, always ask yourself honestly, did I bring value to that deal? And was that value worth what I made? And in the context of this particular deal, maybe it was worth I don't know what the spread was.
35.
You know, sometimes speed matters, right? And so it may be in that deal, if you brought the ability to turn that deal around immediately, and that was valuable and worth it to that person, then great, because there was real value there. But if you're manipulating a person who doesn't understand the deal and understand what's happening, you know, in contract law, there's a thing called the meeting of the minds. So if there really wasn't a meeting of the minds, right, you want to make sure that they fully understand what's going on in that deal. And you also want to build a business with integrity, just like you learned in the last presentation. I love the fact that she stated about how her business is growing because now business partners are attracted to her business because of the integrity of her business. And we found that that's just true. Our business will continue to grow because of the value that we provide. We care about our users first. We care about our vendors and our partners first. And as a natural byproduct, we're going to earn. So
that's awesome. Going back to the video, Vince, what do you think is some of what kind of stands out? So what are the things that stand out to you in the video?
Yeah, so the thing that stood out to me in the video, there's a bunch of things that stand out, but specifically, did you guys notice towards the end of the newscaster's report, he said, we don't know if they committed a crime.
That whole thing seemed like they did.
You dig? They sure put a target on their back like they were certain of a crime being committed. And so I just would caution everybody to understand that the appearance of impropriety is enough, right? And not to, beat the religious thing too much, but the Bible says to avoid the appearance of evil, right? So in so many contexts, the optics matter. And you've got an elderly woman here who maybe she really did get real value. Maybe she, like Justin said, she got $35,000 worth of value. I don't really know. But it was just striking to me that the newscaster said himself, we don't even know if there's a crime here.
And I think they had to say that legally because they implicated them the entire time.
That's right.
They slipped it there in the last few seconds. Justin, what about you? What kind of stuck out to you on something that the newscasters did and maybe something that the actual investor in that video could have done better?
Well, I definitely think that if the wholesaler was better prepared, she could have had a better response.
It would have made a terrible news story.
Yeah,
if she would have had a good response.
Right. And maybe she even did have a good response and they just didn't air it,
Of
right?
course they would.
Because they're going to shape these stories. And here's the thing. There is a target on your back. Just as
Already.
I said. Already. And we know that there's going to be additional regulation that's coming. We saw regulation in Illinois. We're going to continue to see these things. We also own REI Rail, which does the ringless voicemail. We see regulation in Florida. So we try to stay ahead of these things from a business perspective, so that we can also give you the information so that you're able to sort of shift and transition your business. But if your business is built on a great foundation, you're going to be able to last these various shifts. But yeah, that's what stood out to me, is that they're going to shape the story. Even if it were one of you all, they're going to make you look bad. You know what I mean? But you just don't want to be in the position where you're on the radar, that they're trying to do these stories, and kind of slant it the way that we see stories being slanted nowadays. You can't even watch the news anymore because you don't know. Everything is so opinionated.
And here's one thing that Mr. Robinson always tells me, and I'm very cautious of, is that the bird with the brightest feathers gets shot first. And right now I have the brightest feathers.
Yeah, I like that.
So I probably will get shot first. But when I get shot, make sure y'all learn a lesson, please. But the point that I'm saying is that everything you do, you don't have to go put on Instagram. For what? Why? Like, not every aspect. Be very cautious and think that everybody is always watching you. Now, they're going to go out and make that story with somebody anyways. And there's many industries that the same exact thing that they just did happens. When you go get a mortgage for $150, the bank will turn around and sell it the same day for $175. They've done nothing. They didn't even wire the money. So you have to see is like, where is that compass for the story, is that this happens all the time. How many of you guys ever traded a car in? I used to own a car dealership. The moment we give you that lowball price, I'm turning around and sell it the next day. Probably to another guy that's going to fix it up and put it on his used car lot. So but you have to be prepared on how to answer these questions and how to articulate yourself in a better way. Vince, you got something?
And I was just going to say, and the way to be prepared is to believe it.
100%.
We just had this whole conversation with the guy who's working with us around value, and when you're selling anything. Like, if I sell a product that I built, it's easy for me to sell because I completely believe 100% that it's the best, right? And each of you, as you enter a deal, you need to know and believe 100% that what you're doing is the absolute best. The service you provide is the absolute best. There's no one better at what you do and the value that you brought to it. So if she 100% believed that, she would have had an answer.
I would have tore them news reporters apart, personally. But there's a couple things that stuck out. They said that the Zillow gave an as-is price of $245. When's the last time Zillow been in a house to give an as-is price? It doesn't make any sense. So, I would have been able to, pull apart what they're saying. Another thing that stuck out to me, they said the lady lived in the house for 46 years. Do you know how long that is when somebody lives in a house for 46 years? And what the inside of that house may look like?
Right.
Also, they said they were throwing away the lady's things after they bought the house. Well, one of the services we offer is only take what you need. So you gotta know how to articulate this, and maybe she should have been able to put out a statement after, because they published her Instagram name, her real name. They put her on blast, and then at the end, we don't even know if they actually did a crime. So they did everything, and they made her guilty, and all it needs is public opinion.
Right. Which shows that they're out to kill the industry.
Correct. Yeah, and obviously they brought up a licensed realtor to help back up their story.
But you guys know that. And so giving you another piece of advice that in the financial services industry we used to always get is, act like you're going to be, if what you're doing, you would not be proud for it to be on the cover of the Wall Street Journal tomorrow morning, don't do it. Right? So in our context, it would be, if you find yourself leaving an appointment or leaving a deal and you are snickering about how you got over on somebody,
right,
check yourself.
100%.
Right? If you find yourself leaving an appointment or a transaction feeling like, oh my God, I can't believe I beat them for XYZ dollars, check yourself.
If you even think like that, you are crazy. Right. 100%. If what you're doing at an appointment or what you're doing to somebody who wants to sell their house, if you would not want me to do that to your mother when I go on an appointment, then do not do it. That's point blank. I mean, that should be your standard of how you do business. There is times in my business where, people just don't know. Older Asian guy called me to his house one time. I went, I think Francis and I went to the house, and the guy got a letter from the bank said he was going into foreclosure. It was his first letter. He thought he was losing his house tomorrow. And he wanted to sell it to me to get anything he could. I was like, nah, man, you got like 6 months. Yeah. Let's figure this out. I could have made probably like $70,000 on that deal. But I gave him so many options. I even walked him down through. I gave him Shannon's number. I said, Shannon's going to help you. She's going to make sure that if you do want to save your house, I'm going to give you all the other options. And then if you get down to the wire, then call me. I'm not the best option for you right now.
Right.
Now, on paper, would my bank account and my company would have loved that? Of course they would have loved a big assignment fee like that. But I couldn't sleep at night because I wouldn't do that to my mother, and I wouldn't want you guys to go on an appointment if I pass away and you go do it to my mother. And that's just my barometer. That's how I do business, and that's how you should conduct business. There's nothing wrong with making money in America. That's just what we do. So if you feel confident about the way you make money, then stand up for yourself. But make sure you're doing the ethical thing.
Yeah, and like you said, to me, it's value. Just make sure you're adding value. Max talks all the time about the definition of this business is you're solving problems, right? And just by solving that problem, that's the value that you bring. So just know what problem you solved and be able to articulate it well, understand it.
And 100%, just know that this industry, you're going to get spotlight on you. It's going to happen more and more. But you don't have to put everything on Instagram and YouTube. I promise you don't. I kind of want to open this up to anybody that's got any questions on particular things that they went through or things that they foreshadow seeing, or just any questions about ethics at all. Yeah, you can stand up and just jump on that mic for me. Yes, sir.
Hey, Richard.
Hey, man.
What's up, Richard?
This is funny. Just so happens I know that story a lot. The guy who... The teacher in that, his name's John Stafford. He's an incredible individual.
Exactly, but you couldn't tell from that, right?
And his company's called Everybody Eats, and it's a ministry to him.
Oh, wow.
What they didn't show is that they were having Bible studies at this woman's house.
Wow.
That they went and got her medicine, that they were driving her to church. They were bringing her meals. They did so many things with this woman. Okay, and the woman that they talked to, she was just a wholesaler, one of his students that brought him the deal. But like you said, they did the Zillow thing. It needed like 80 grand of repairs. It was all started for the real estate agent that was in it. She's the one that got the news people going.
Because she missed out on the listing.
Yep, exactly. And if you figured it out, it would have been the same amount ended up to the lady once all the repairs were done and the fees and everything.
Yeah, and that's a great point because just like I said earlier, there probably is a story that they're just not going to tell.
Right.
Because they've got targets on our backs. They got targets on the backs of everyone in this room who's in this industry. So you just got to be careful.
Right. And what's going on, and I've heard this from other people who deal with agents a lot, there's a concerted effort right now against wholesalers, just like what the taxi cab companies did to Uber. That they don't like that we're making money. They think it's wrong, so they're going to start paying some lobbyists to go to the congressman to say,
there's one thing that we're going to put together, and then we're going to announce it pretty soon in this first quarter, is that we're going to put money together and we're going to get a lobbyist ourselves, because not only are we protecting. Not only are we protecting wholesalers trying to get into, because wholesaling is just a gateway drug to real estate investing if you don't have the capital. So we're trying to protect us, and then also there's another level of investors, fix and flippers, and people that depend on getting deeply discounted properties for their entire operation to run. Yeah. So yeah, they're going to put some money up, but we're going to put a lot more.
I know. I thank these guys. About a month ago, my wife and I we're trying to practice gratitude, right? So a year ago, exactly a year ago, my wife and I were broke, trying to figure out what we're going to do. I used to play around in real estate for a while, never really made any money. Decided to get serious, heard about wholesaling, found Mr. Maxwell here. Changed our life, really did. I know we did the work, but you were the inspiration.
Thank you.
Come on. And it really is all about mindset. We've been hearing that a lot. I've spent the past year, I've learned about subject twos, I've learned, owner finance, all this stuff. I've learned it. That's the easy part. It's the hustle. And it is the mindset more than anything else. I'm trying to tell you, I was born when my mom was 17 years old. I ran away from home when I was 15. I lived on the streets. My first daughter was born on welfare and food stamps. My wife and I lived in a basement of somebody. It was struggling hard, and we've changed. This December, we'll be married 33 years. She's gonna be here in about an hour, so everybody tell her how lucky she is, because we got a hotel for the night.
Coming to the party, right?
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah.
Max, she thinks you're cute, so come tell her how cute she is. I could use it. Because we're in the hotel tonight, I need all the help. 33 years, you need the prime to pump a little bit. You need some help. I don't care where she gets her appetite as long as she eats at home, if you know what I'm saying.
If you couldn't tell, Richard is a preacher.
I used to be a preacher a while back. So also tell her one of y'all came in with crutches and y'all don't have them no more and you've been healed. That would help. But anyway, honestly, thank y'all greatly. These guys, I'm telling you, REI Rail, these guys know it and they're great, but they can't sell it right because they're nerds, And this is a numbers game, right? Do y'all trust Max? Yeah. I know, it's for real. Act like he's not here. Do y'all really trust him? He's giving away like 90% of the info for free, right? He says REI Rail works, so my wife and I said, okay, we ain't got any money, we're broke, but he says it's worth it, right? So I was calling Vince, I was like, hey, I was trying to use old expired coupons and stuff to get a discount. I was broke, but we started hustling. And it's a numbers game, so it's literally contact 1,000 people, to talk to 300, to make 10 appointments, to get one deal, next, and you do it over and over again. If you change that mindset, right? You can do it. So REI Rail, boom, I'm hustling, I'm trying to do it. Started talking to a lady in April. Took, I think, whatever it is, from April to September, talked to her all that time, closed the deal. Worked really hard to help this woman out a lot. She didn't live in the home. Her son was on drugs. He was in the house, so she needed 90 days, helped her out, helped pay some of the bills, got him into the hospital, listened to her calling and crying in the middle of the night. She was about to go bankrupt and lose everything. Now, after all that work, we did make more than 50% of Americans will make on a paycheck. That's a big deal. It's great. It changed our life. But I worked my ass off to do that, right?
And you provided a ton of value, real value.
Honestly, because we're solving problems that money can't solve. If it was just a money problem, it would be done. But you're solving the things it can't solve. And that is a ministry, whether you know it or not. Fast forward. It's funny because they told me 5 minutes ago I thought I was going to come up and talk to tell them this story, but I'm just going to do it now since I have the mic. And then we'll take up an offering. But, so fast forward. Got another deal. We're just talking to people, and you never give up. You just follow up. Well, this woman, very wealthy woman, has a lot of bills. She makes six figures, but is broker than me, because all she does is getting the appearance of wealth, not buying the things that really make wealth. You know what I'm saying? The leasing the cars, the fancy clothes. I'm buying everybody's stuff on Christmas because they know I'm a doctor, but she don't have nothing. So I'm helping her out. We're thinking we're going to short sale. It didn't work. She has too much money. Her ex-husband has too much money. Long story short, 6,500 square foot house, 5 bedrooms, 4 baths. Worth a lot of money, this house. We were supposed to be moving into it this weekend for us. We solved a lot of problems because she's so rich, they were going to take the house and she was still going to be on the hook for several $100,000. She's paying us $150,000 to buy the house.
That's a Mr. Robinson deal right
Yes,
there.
sir. We are buying a subject too. And not only that, it's only going to cost us $1,200 a month to be in the house. And I really don't even have a job, so I don't have to get a credit check or nothing. So we're going to be the Beverly Hillbillies moving in this neighborhood. I got 2 grown-ass daughters who I can't get rid of, and they're never going to leave now, by the way. But anyway, and that little girl that was born on welfare, she did go to UGA, full scholarship. She did get a master's degree, full scholarship. She's making a lot of money, but she still lives in my house. So we got a hotel this weekend. Tell my wife how awesome she is when she gets here, and she's so lucky. And I'll shut up now, sorry.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That's what We Live's about. We Live!
We Live!
Looks like we got a few more questions. I'm already, I got 1 minute, but it's my show, so I'm gonna do what I wanna do. Let's go, ask some questions.
Hey, I'm TJ. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. If anybody's from Charlotte,
NC in the house!
come see me. Love the Winston Salem meetup.
Thank you.
It's awesome. So I'll see you there. How would you prepare your sellers up front, letting them know, like, hey, this is exactly what's going on? And then, so I recently closed a deal, made a nice spread on it, and I actually it was 3 units. I went 10,000 above on 2 of the units than what she told me she wanted for it, so we could get it done quick, and we're working through it. So we're closed, and then there's other wholesalers that are calling her. I'm saying, hey, if you want to do this, talk to other people. That's fine. If you want to do it with a realtor, they're going to give you the most money. I'm not going to be able to give you retail for it because that's just not what an investor does. So she calls me later, and she's like, hey, after we've closed and everything, hey, these other people are calling me, telling me they would have gave me more money. Well, yeah, anybody's going to say that, but they didn't see the hole in the floor. They didn't see all the inside stuff. So how would you approach that as well?
For me, I don't think I've ever really had somebody call me back.
Okay.
What I do is exactly what you said. I set the expectation. Hey, listen, I'm an investor.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends that are other investors. I'm either going to buy this house, or if I don't want to buy it at the time, I'm just going to call some of my other investor friends. We meet every Thursday. I'm probably going to give it to them.
Yep.
Are you okay with this number? Yeah, I'm okay with this number.
Okay.
And then you turn around and you assign it, you sell it, you buy it, whatever your exit strategy is.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that Pace does, I don't know if he's in the room, but he says is he records every meeting he has. Scott team does it as well. They put on a little necklace that they have, the watch that has, and we're in a one-party state. I don't know what I mean by is that 2 people don't have to give consent for a conversation to be recorded. North Carolina's only
Right.
1. And we mainly use those type of things for training purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ever need it and you can use it,
Right.
that's just somebody being greedy. That's a mindset. It seems like the same thing with the lady in this video, lived in the house
Yeah.
for 46 years.
Having flashbacks.
Everything was fine until the realtor started heating it up. And then an attorney said, oh, well, I might have a case. And then obviously the realtor got 20 seconds on Atlanta TV, and they're happy for that. But I guarantee you at the end of everything, nothing legally could be done to the person that bought that house cash
Right.
and turned around and sold it the next day. That's America.
Yeah.
So, I don't think there's anything they can do after somebody gives them a call.
I think the biggest thing, right, is just educating your seller up front, and I think that's what you did.
Yeah.
And I think, like even a couple points that Richard said that I thought were really great. Number one, this woman paid him. So she's she's an attorney. She's fully aware of the value that he brought, to that deal. And that's what you want. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can end a deal and the seller is actually your advocate, what would have been great in this scenario is that the woman who they interviewed, the seller, was actually like, but no, this is what they did for me. You know what I mean? Because there's going to be value that you bring outside of, what you can necessarily quantify as, buying a brick or whatever the case may be. All the things that Richard said that this group did for them, You know what I mean? So you want to be able to describe that value up front and make sure that the seller fully understands it. And I think that's really what we mean when we say bring integrity. It's just, and it's transparency.
Right.
You know?
Can I just put a quick button on that? I agree with all that completely. I think it's about transparency. I think being upfront. I say to people out loud at least twice, I'm probably not going to be your highest offer.
100%.
Right? I need to be real clear about that because the value is elsewhere. It's in speed, it's in efficiency, it's in other things. That's number one. The other thing I was going to say was you guys might want to adopt, again, going back to sort of financial services background, we had something called the KYC standard, Know Your Customer. And it probably makes sense for everybody to just start to document that you have really diagnosed this person's problem, right? You could just have a form that you create on your own, that you know what their needs are, what their specific situation is, their family situation is, what alternatives you presented to them. Just tuck it away. Nobody's asking for it yet. But God forbid, you know, Big Brother comes and knocks on all of our doors 18 months from now and is saying, how do you know you did the best thing for the customer? It might make sense for all of us to adopt a KYC standard and just document it. Just put it in the file for all your deals that I really did a proper and thorough diagnosis on this person and what their needs were. Just a thought.
And just in practice, right? Is there anyone in this room that came up to me or Vince and asked us, hey, tell us about REI Rail. What is REI Rail? Right? Tell me what that is. Right? And if you came to me or him, I didn't tell you what REI Rail was immediately. The first question I asked you was, no, first tell me about your business. I want to understand your business. And I'm going to tell you whether or not I think a product that we created is the best thing for you or not. Because if it's not, I'm going to tell you, right? Because then that's just a bad deal for me as well as for that person, right? Because they're going to go speak negatively about the product, and it's just not going to grow, and we didn't serve the person in that case. But if I do believe 100% in the value that it can bring your business, then I'm going to sell it hard, because I believe that it's going to I think it's going to transform your business and your life. I believe it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that in anything that you do, in any service or product that you provide, like that's just the mantra. You know, do what he said. Like for me, that was my, what do you call it, KYC?
KYC, yeah.
That was my KYC. Like I asked up front, tell me about your business. I want to know about your business.
Absolutely, yeah.
So-
I helped her through a 1031 exchange. Like, she's able to save her recently deceased husband, her brother-in-law, like $2,000 a month because she's going to turn that into a rental for him. Like, there's a lot of great things that are coming from this.
I think you went above and beyond. I think,
okay.
you can't, she's just going to be a greedy person because somebody's telling her she could have got more or this or that. Just go through it.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've done everything you were supposed to do.
And here's the thing too, like, cause she may end up going with these other folks and they're not going to be able to close.
Well, she already bought it. They
Oh,
closed.
she already bought it. Okay.
It's done.
But I've seen that a bunch of times.
She's coming after the deal.
Oh, she's coming after. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I wouldn't
wouldn't
worry
worry
about
about
that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We got a couple more questions because we're going to go into, let's just take 3 more. We're going to go into, unless you guys want to go to lunch and ask these questions. Yeah. Huh? We could talk about that, but let's just do 3 more questions. Let's just make them quick. Go ahead, sir. I know you've been waiting.
How you doing, Max? I'm Henson from Richmond, Virginia, and I was in the financial industry for 9 years before I quit. So I always try to apply the ethics in business. My question was, years ago I bought a program from a large guru who was on short sales, and it had a disclosure statement in the documents that you would have the customer sign or the homeowner sign. So do you see something like that having to be in place in this industry at some point? And then also I wanted to ask you about, like when you were talking about how you sit down with a customer and you give them all these options, tell them, well, why didn't you go with a realtor? Do you see that as being common practice from an ethical standpoint as well, just giving them all of the options to let them know what they can do so they can't come back and say you didn't tell them and took advantage of them?
Yeah, so it's not our responsibility to educate the customer, but it is an ethical responsibility for us to give them options. For me, it's also built into my sales pitch. I am trying to push them away from me to realize that I'm the actual only option if that's what they call me for, because they're calling you for something crazy. So yes, and then also when it comes to disclosures, every single one of my customers that I help sign a disclosure, and they sign it again at the closing table. And it's just part of what Mr. Robinson has implemented in our business because he's been in the industry for a long time. So we have a disclosure, and especially when it comes to subject to properties, there's this long legal size sheet that they sign of disclosures. So yeah, I would implement some type of disclosure in your business, have a lawyer draft one up that just kind of covers your butt, and have everybody sign it as well too. I think it's just an extra thing, right? Do I see them being able to, they can't regulate investors because it's the Wild Wild West. So I don't think they're gonna, but if you're ahead of the curve, I think that's good.
Do you have your disclosures available, or?
I do. They're made for how my business is ran. I don't know. I'll look at them to see if there's something worth passing out. And if I do, I'll post it on all social and stuff like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Max. Thanks
Hey.
for everything. I enjoy your meetups. I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina, so I'm excited to see a lot of North Carolina people here. Real quick, this might be a question that I might be saying incorrectly, but I love the ethics approach. When you're doing not short sales, double closings, how does ethics play a role in that, in your decision of what you're going to make on that deal?
So number one, I think we've been blending these words a lot, and I want to fix that. So I've never done a double close. Essentially, a double close is where you take the end investor that's going to buy it. They're going to wire in the entire sum of money, which is the purchase price plus your assignment fee. An attorney is going to take the entire sum of money, purchase the property in your name, and then turn around and sell it to the end buyer, and you're going to still walk away with that assignment fee, which is not an assignment now. It's just you sold. We don't do that.
Okay.
Lawyers will lose your license for double closes. Now, if the lawyer want to take their risk with that, that's fine. But if you know anything about an escrow account, if you're going to have 2 transactions, you need 2 wires.
Right.
Just plain old simple. So if you could find an attorney who wants to do it, do it. But here's the thing. I'm always setting expectations with my sellers. I am letting them know from day one I'm an investor, and I have a group of investors. I am either going to buy it, or I'm going to send it on to somebody else, and they're going to buy it. They're going to buy it. It doesn't matter. I'm going to buy it, or somebody else of my friends is going to buy it. And 2, I've always set the expectation with the buyers from day one. I don't need more buyers. I need quality buyers. So I'm telling them from day one, listen, there's a property I might be able to go get for $1. And I might be able to sell it to you for $100,000. Are you okay with me making a $99,000 assignment fee if the numbers work for you? And if they say yes, then we move on. If they say no, they move on too. All my buyers also sign a disclosure sheet.
Okay.
And just to be clear, that way of doing double closing is not allowed. Just so you know, like you used to be able to do that, it was totally fine. But you have to have what's called wet funds now.
Okay.
Transactional funding. And all it is simply, like I do some transactional funding. I know Tony, where's Tony in here from Texas? He in there somewhere? Tony right there behind you, he does transactional funding. So if you need money, you can see him. So what transactional funding is if you're gonna make a big assignment fee and you don't want the buyer to know how big your assignment fee is and you need $100,000, Tony will wire the attorney $100,000 for you, and you're gonna pay him a flat fee, $1,000, $1,500, I don't know what he charges. And then you're gonna actually buy the property, and then it's gonna turn around and be sold to the end buyer within minutes of that same transaction. And then you've actually sent in 2 wires, right? So that's the actual real way. It's not called, I call it simultaneously closing and not double closing.
Okay.
And
Thank
that's
you.
what we do in our business. We don't assign anything now. We buy everything.
Thank y'all so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Gerard. I'm from Winston. Max is back. Well, our backyard.
Yeah, this is our backyard, baby.
Yeah. More so, it wasn't a question. It's more so just a comment. I think Chris Jefferson said yesterday, this feels more so like an MLM type space now, right? Wholesaling is kind of sexy, and I've had some success in MLM, part of the 3%. Not here to really talk about that. More so in that space, you're not allowed to post your checks, right? Because the SEC will come after you for that. And I've been guilty of it in this space. You know, we get excited, we post it online, but it's like, we got these private groups where we can post it for each other as a resource, as inspiration. Everybody else, especially I think somebody was saying yesterday, you know, if we're public, those same people can go back and see that, you know, we got these checks, and that's how they can feel like they're taken advantage of. So maybe we can just more so practice posting it maybe for each other as inspiration and not necessarily on our social media. And maybe on our social media, we just more so forecast how we are actually helping the people to protect and grow our brand.
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
100%. Or just don't post anything. Yeah.
You know, we were talking about this earlier, and I agree. Like I love the encouragement. I see the checks posted and all that, and you know, I think that's fantastic that we need to encourage each other that way. But I'm also going to ask that we all keep each other accountable, right? So then also ask that question. Well, also tell me about the value that you brought.
Yeah, you post a $50,000 check. Tell me your $50,000 value add real quick. What'd you do? Did you have to get 23 heirs to sign the property and figure it out? Oh, yeah, that was worth $23,000 for real.
And usually the person is going to ask, well, what list did you buy? And that's not the question that you really should be asking, right? Because it wasn't the list that got them there. It was all the things that Richard talked about earlier that got them
Just
there.
say matter of fact, next time somebody posts a picture of a check in Wholesaling Houses Elite Facebook group, I want everybody to respond and say, hey, what problem did you solve? Not what list you bought. What's that? Oh yeah, we actually got it shut down, so we stopped letting it go through. So just in case you guys know, I don't monitor the Facebook group. These people in the front over here do. No, those guys. Mm-hmm. So if you got blocked, blame Eddie. But no, it's serious. If you don't post. It's cool. Just be rich in silence. Let me be the brightest bird and get shot. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, sir. Yeah, we'll breeze through these. So let's make them fast.
All right, so would you say that we as wholesalers should approach the sellers as, hey, I'm going to do one of three things. Either I'm going to buy it and flip it, I'm going to hold it as a rental, or I'm going to shop it around to some of my investor buddies, and they might end up buying it. Full disclosure, I'm going to make a little bit of a commission on that, but you don't have to pay anything. The amount we agree upon is what you get. Do you feel like that's enough? Full disclosure, or?
So I say that in a different way.
Okay.
We don't earn commissions because we're not licensed people. So let's get that out of your category. What I say is, hey, look, hey, I'm buying properties for two main reasons right now. One, I'm going to buy it and fix it up just a little bit, add it to my rent portfolio. The second reason, which we've been doing a lot more here lately, is we've been buying properties and fixing it up all the way. You know HGTV. You guys watch that? So I'm going to fix the house up, HGTV, new roof, new countertops, new bathrooms, everything. And I'm going to probably put on the market within 6 to 9 months. Which one do you think your house fits in? And I start off with saying, hey, yep, I'm Max. I'm a local real estate investor. It's about group of four of us in this company that buy properties. And that's my intro that I work with everybody else. And my other intro is that I have two buckets that I'm usually going to put it into. I don't need to go into detail and say, well, I'm going to buy your house. I'm going to sign it on the contract. The guy's probably going to, it's too much information.
Okay.
The banks don't even tell you all that. The car dealers don't even tell you that. Do you know that when you go buy a car from a car dealership, they're legally allowed to add 2 points to your interest rate that they get from the lender for you? Did you know that?
No.
So if they shop the loan for you, and then you get a loan of 2.5%, they're legally allowed to add 2 extra points to that loan and make it a 4.5% loan and collect that 2% on the day you buy the car. You didn't know that, did you?
I buy all my cars with cash.
It's in there. I'm just telling you, it's in there. So no, you don't got to go full wide open. Here's my business plan. But you do need to set the expectation and figure out what your pitch is.
Yeah.
Understood?
Got it.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Kelsey Siddall, St. Louis, Missouri. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with the law that came out last January on robocalls. I was wondering if that would affect REI Rail or RVMs in general.
Yeah, so like Justin said, this is something that we monitor very closely. We try to stay out in front of it. We're in constant communication with our counsel about it. Candidly, it's part of the reason that sometimes we are slower to roll out products than you guys, our customers, might like. And while it's frustrating for you, it's more frustrating for us, but we're doing it because we want to protect you guys. And we want to protect our business, obviously. So on the robocall side, here is the short version of a very long and fairly nuanced story.
This is just information, not legal advice.
This is not legal advice, let's be clear. I want to get that out the way real fast. But the current understanding on robocalls is that if the call is initiated by a machine, that's a robocall. And so you have to have prior consent from the recipient in order to engage the communication
Like
that
when
way.
your doctor reminds you of your appointment that you have.
That's totally fine. You get an RVM from your doctor, I mean, you have already signed away all types of privacy things and HIPAA disclosures, what have you. It's totally fine. If you are soliciting some new service and you don't have a relationship with them, then technically under the new rules and regs, you can't use a power dialing caller type of product. That's what the regs say. That's not us. So we're just trying to navigate this thing very, very carefully. And as it pertains to RVM, RVM currently exists in a little bit of a carve out because a call, the definition of a call, we're getting into really splicing words here, is what's being debated. And since somebody cannot answer an RVM, it's not considered a call, right? Because the regulators are trying to protect the consumer. They don't want you harassing the consumer at dinner and et cetera, et cetera. So that's why the robocall is under such scrutiny right now, and RVM cannot be answered. They can only call you back, right? And so if they call you back, obviously the onus is on them to decide whether they want to have that conversation or not. So that's why RVM is protected. That's why we're still confident, having the product out there and promoting it and having you guys use it. There's more nuance to it even than what I'm saying here, but that is the general thinking in this space around RVMs and robocalls. Does that help?
Yeah.
Cool.
Last question, and we're gonna go to get some eat, right? Y'all hungry? Yes. My man said yes.
Yes. All right, my name is Jason. I'm one of Tommy's first students. I'm from Jersey.
Jersey,
The name
stand
of my
up.
company is Let Us Help You. And I just wanted to make a comment. I've only been wholesaling 2.5 years, and I have had great success. Yeah, customer service is everything. I'll tell a quick story. I had an older lady call one of my bandit signs. She thought she was losing her house, like Max said. She was going to share a sale. So the problem was that, and we have to solve people problems. That's what business we are in. Her problem was her taxes was too high. She retired, and her interest rate was still like 7% because no one told her. She was misinformed. So what I did is I made friends with a hard money lender. I called him up. I said, this lady's very emotional. I think she wants to stay in her house. We always not trying to make a sale. We got to help people. So what I did is I got her taxes lowered. We dropped her mortgage $800. Then I refinanced her house. And she was the only person taking care of her grandkids because her daughter passed. And what that did for me was that generated 10 more deals.
Yeah.
Because she told all her older friends who wanted to get out of the state, this young man just helped me, and he did a great job, and thank you.
Now that's called building a business.
Yes, and so like what happened with the lady in Atlanta, you got to do customer service. And I had a realtor who was beating on her door, telling her, oh, wholesaling is illegal, you're going to go to jail, this and that, and she stopped her. She said, stop, wait a minute. That young man just helped me. So you can't tell me nothing, and shut the door on her. And she called me and she said, I'm going to send you all my friends, and they want to sell their homes. And I just been closing deal after deal because they're sending me their friends too. So just do good business, and you'll be fine.
That's right.